Hi everyone, my name is Natasha Belfort and this is Becoming Her Anyways. Have you ever struggled with your self-worth and your self-confidence? In this episode, we will be talking about the importance of self-love and how to love yourself. The biggest reason why it's important to love yourself is because if you love yourself, you'll be able to appreciate your surroundings and you'll be able to love other people. If you have no self-worth and no self-love, you won't be able to actually properly, genuinely love other people. For example, if we look at Joe Goldberg from the series You, he manipulates, kills, and tortures people, right? Because he doesn't have any self-worth. He doesn't believe that he's worthy of actual genuine love, so he feels like he has to control every single situation in order to feel any love, right? Even Penn Badgley, the actor of Joe Goldberg, says that he doesn't believe that Joe Goldberg loves himself because he isn't able to actually love, and instead he, kills people, right? So what do I mean by self-love? Well, it means that you have high self-worth, right? So you know what you deserve and what you don't deserve. You have a very clear idea of what you want your life to look like, and you're not going to settle until you have that, right? Self-love is essentially having your own identity, where you have your own boundaries and you know what you accept and what you don't accept, right? When I was young, I was obsessed with this boy, and it got to a point where he was treating me so badly. Like, this boy barely had any interest in me, right? It was weird though, because he had an avoidant attachment, so it looked like he didn't have any interest in me when actually that was how he showed interest, right? But I allowed him to walk all over my boundaries as an anxious because I just wanted his, love and affection, and I was just desperate for it. And because I was so young, I didn't understand attachment styles. By the way, I have a whole episode on attachment if you guys want to listen to that. But essentially, I was just not caring about my own identity or my own goals, whatever. And this boy eventually left me, and I was just stuck with the fact that, I had allowed someone to just drag me right through the mud and then just leave me. And I had to then spend an entire year rebuilding myself and, rebranding myself and working on my self-confidence and my self-worth to make sure that nothing like that ever happened to me again. And by the way, it didn't. So when I was going through my journey of trying to actually gain a sense of self again, gain some confidence and some self-worth, I was reading books. I read Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. That was a really good book. But essentially what I realized through also watching, motivational YouTube videos, right? I realized that it matters what you do, not really what you say or what you think. So if someone is blatantly disrespecting you and you just accept it and you be friends with this person anyway or be in contact with them anyway, you're telling yourself subconsciously that you don't matter and that this person matters more than you. If you allow people to walk all over you, you're saying that they're more important than you are. Okay, and that is why your confidence is so low. Because obviously, if you're showing yourself that you don't love yourself and that you don't respect yourself, why would you believe that you do? For example, if you were looking to see if someone loves you, you would look at their actions. Do they communicate? Do they show up for you? Are they emotionally available? Those are the things that you look out for. And if you look at yourself, are you emotionally available for yourself? Are you creating space for yourself? Are you there for yourself? If you're constantly betraying yourself for other people, then you're never going to have any self-respect. Self-love isn't essentially just saying, I love myself. Like, that does help, but that alone will not convince you, okay? If you actually love yourself, you will take care of yourself. You will, look at your own behavior, you will reflect, but you also look at the way that you react to other people. In basic terms, obviously, self-love is, having a shower, getting a haircut, having good hygiene, looking after yourself, basically. But it's a lot more than that, because obviously you have the basic needs. And then you have also the psychological needs. So are you with people who actually value you? You're friends with people who know your worth, or are you friends with people who, make fun of you or, don't show up for you? Are you in a relationship? First, this is really, really important. Are you in a relationship where that person does not recognize your worth and you know that you're not being treated right, but you're waiting for that person to, change or realize your worth? Well, it's not going to happen. Okay, because first you need to realize it. You are the one that puts yourself in the market. You're the one that decides your worth. I've actually asked men this, and they've literally told me, you decide your worth. Because if you show a man, I'm worth this, I'm worth being respected, being cared for, then they're going to believe you. If a man leaves you or loses interest in you because he knows that you cannot be manipulated, that you will not budge on your boundaries, great. That's amazing. The best thing that you can do with self-love is repel the wrong people. I feel like people don't really understand this. If you have boundaries and, you're not going to budge on them, people are going to hate you because people are going to think, how dare you? How dare she have boundaries? How dare you be confident? The most insecure people absolutely loathe you. And you have to allow that. You have to allow that, because honestly, that's the best thing, because you need to repel these horrible people so you can attract the right people. Essentially, self-love is a habit and a lifestyle, not just like one thing that you do. Self-love isn't just like, okay, I'll have a piece of cake just because I want to, Yes, that is part of it, but it's a much bigger spectrum. Self-love is respecting yourself as well as respecting other people's boundaries. Self-respect is not reacting in a volatile way. Self-respect is being practical. Self-respect is knowing your worth and being able to walk away from situations and not begging or being desperate. That is what self-love is. Self-love is being able to be alone in your own company, because you know that until someone else comes that, deserves to be in your company, you would rather be alone. And that's just me right now. Honestly, guys, I would much rather be alone and, just have a few friends than be friends with horrible, toxic people, because I've done both. And honestly, like, at least in your own solitude, you'll be more productive and you'll, achieve something because you'll be more motivated to do something, right, in a sense, because you have more time and more energy to maybe, start a project. For example, if I was in a relationship, I probably would have started this podcast. I'd just be with my boyfriend, because obviously being in a relationship takes a lot of time and energy. And I probably would have had the idea, because I had the idea on a solo walk in London. And I was like, wow, like, I actually want to start a podcast. I want to help people. And I realized this. And after that, like, I just never went back. The same day I created my brand, I created my podcast, I see this like a business, right? And I love it. I absolutely love doing this podcast. On to the next thing. Self-love is when you don't self-sabotage and you use the utilities at your disposal, right? If you are in education right now, self-love will be revising and studying until you can get those grades that take you where you need to go, right? Self-love is taking care of yourself, going to the gym, going to Pilates, but also like looking after the people around you and, evaluating your friendships and, reflecting on your own behavior. I feel like self-love is also when you hold yourself accountable for what you've done so that you can, move forward and you can forgive yourself. The worst people in life don't reflect and they don't think anything is ever their fault. And that's the biggest self-sabotage. But saying that nothing is ever your fault, it's just wrong, first of all, because we're all human, we all make mistakes. That's the biggest thing that you can do wrong, because then you'll never learn. You'll never change. If you don't think there's anything wrong, you'll never change. And that is the opposite of self-love. If you never change, never grow, you are inhibiting yourself. You're not going to go anywhere. And then meanwhile, there's people who know their worth, but they also know their flaws and they're working constantly on themselves. So I'm not saying that you need to constantly be working on yourself. I understand that sometimes you reach a point where you're like, I really like my life. I'm happy with my life. I don't believe in this whole, like, we'll always change. Like, yes, of course we're always changing, but we don't always need to be constantly having massive shifts. It's more like a habit. It's more like a lifestyle. It's not just like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and be a new person. It doesn't work like this. Life is just one habit after the other. So self-love really is having good habits, having, good mental and physical well-being, but also not being afraid to say no. If you're a people pleaser, you need to really work on that and think, why can I not say no to people that I don't even really care about that much? Because you guys are often hurting the people closest to you. You're hurting the people who you are not afraid to say no to. And the reason you're not afraid to say no to them is because those people love you and those people, appreciate you, and you don't need to overstretch yourself. I had a friend who was a people pleaser, and she could say no to me, but then she would say yes to the stupidest things that other people would ask her. And she didn't even like these people. And I would ask her, like, why do you say no to me, but you don't say no to these people? And she goes, because I, like, trust you. And guys, that's the biggest self-sabotage, because often she was hurting me when she would say yes to these people, because, like, maybe, these people were toxic or whatever. And I would just think, like, why is she doing this? Like, it's just not very, nice, especially if I had, like, a history with those people. And I would kind of take a person and think, okay, so you can say no to me, who you trust, but you can't say no to these horrible people. I'm gonna be honest, I do love myself because I know that I have good habits. I know that obviously I'm not a perfect person, but I don't go around making people's lives miserable. If I have someone that I do not like, I'm not in contact with them. I don't care. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care. I like my own habits because I realize that I am allowed to say no. And if I don't want something, I'm not going to take part in it. If I don't want to date someone, I won't. I don't care, you know. I trust my own judgment because I know that when I want something and when, something suits me, I will accept it. But when something doesn't and they're offered it, I'm going to go, no. And that is really self-love, like being able to make your own decisions, trusting yourself, knowing that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. If you're telling yourself, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do this, but you never do anything, you're never going to love yourself because you're never going to trust yourself. For me, I have good hygiene. I go to the gym generally. Recently I haven't been, but, I'm wanting to go today just because I've been relaxing a bit. But also I have good friends, I eat well, I enjoy my own company, I watch motivational things, I don't listen to sad music, I like my life. And yes, sometimes it gets a bit boring because, I'm in a very peaceful life right now, I'm really protecting my peace at the minute, really not letting anyone in through his doors. But generally, I just love the way that I am. And I feel like anyone could achieve this if you just say no to things that you don't want and you start actually, being empathetic, feeling your emotions, but also being able to make good decisions, I think is such a big form of self-love. And if you're making decisions that are betraying yourself, you're never going to achieve self-love and you're never going to achieve peace. And you're constantly just going to be striving for something that you can't achieve. If there's someone in your life right now who is toxic, who is, putting you down, either defend yourself, especially if it's like a family member, don't allow them to just do it and you're just going to ignore it. Okay, defend yourself. Or you just walk away from that person, especially if they're not like a family member, right? Especially if they're not someone who you need in your life. Just walk away. You don't need to argue with a stupid person. Okay, obviously sometimes, at home with your family, like they might attack you, they might like say like, blah, blah, and you know that they're wrong. So you need to defend yourself, that you cannot just allow them to do that to you. You have to absolutely defend yourself because you have to tell your subconscious that you matter more than what other people think of you or other people's, reactions to you. Okay, well, guys, this episode was more a bit like a rant because recently they've been quite structured, but today I just kind of wanted to say what I felt. Guys, thank you so much. I really do enjoy doing this podcast. I would also say that self-love is creating, as our souls are constantly wanting to create things. And making this podcast is definitely the way that I create. If you're good at talking, honestly, guys, do a podcast because it's so fun. But arts and music and all that, like creating is such a beautiful thing that humans can do, and it's what differentiates us from animals. Every day when I look at the stats, I get so happy that my podcast is growing. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it, and I can't wait to film future episodes, guys. I'm Natasha Belfer, and this is Becoming Her Anyways.